Now, what's funny is you see it didn't crossfade these two because they're Apple loops. Apple loops don't really adhere to the same rules as digital audio. So what I might do is take this piano track, and in my Reason lesson, I said, you know, you can take the output of your Reason track and you can assign it to an audio track, blah, 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 blah. And I told you how to do it, but I'm going to show you an example of how you can take a track and send the audio to an audio track and record that audio. So here's my piano, right? This is the piano that I played, this beautiful loungy piece of art. And let's see, I'll set it to 16th notes just for fun. And here's my software instrument, and down here, output 1 and 2. All right, here's the piano. It's being played through an EXS24. It's going out output 1 and 2. Whenever you see output 1 and 2, that means it's going to your speakers. Okay, it's going out output 1 and 2 of your audio device, which is usually your speakers, okay? So instead of doing that, I'm going to send it to a bus. I'm going to go bus 1. Okay? So now, here's the signal flow. The piano is being played through bus 1, which comes up here, right? There's automatically an auxiliary made for bus 1. So it's traveling to this auxiliary, and then it's going to output 1 and 2, my speakers, right? All right, well, here's an interesting thing. If I go to audio 2, that one that I was using for the Apple loop, I'm going to go to its input and tell it, okay, listen to bus 1. If I put this audio track and record, it will record my piano as audio. Check it out. Cool. So now I can mute that, can mute this piano, and then I can go to this audio track, and I'll solo it just so you know that we're only listening to this track. So that's really handy. Anyway, I thought I might show you that as a caveat to or a follow-up to my Reason lesson. Actually, I'm going to come back here for a second. I'm not done yet. Somebody asked me about anchor points. What's up with anchor points? If I click and hold on this audio file and move it left and right, you'll see a grid, basically, an XY coordinate that it's lining up to. The line that's going vertically is showing me where the furthest left-hand side of my audio file is lining up to the logic grid. The horizontal line is basically showing me where this region is vertically in my track list. So check it out. If I double click here and I go down into the audio editor, there's this thing called an anchor point. All the anchor point does is it changes our reference to the logic grid. Okay? So this region right now, it's lining up, this vertical line that I get to match things up to is lining up to the left-hand side of this region. What I want it to do maybe is start on, let's see. Maybe I want to line it up to this note. I'm going to line it up to this transient. So if I drag this over and move it here, you'll see that when I grab this audio file, it's no longer lining up to the left-hand side of my region. It's lining up to that anchor point. Now, when is this handy? Well, if you have like, when is it handy? Well, let's say you have a reversed drum. In one of my logic lessons, I talked about reversing audio files. If you have a reversed audio file, okay, let's say it was a drum hit. A drum hit goes pow, and it looks like a little triangle, right? And the triangle is wide in the front and skinny in the back. And when you flip it around, it's skinny in the front and wide in the back. And where you normally want to line that file up to once it gets reversed is where it's wide. Okay? So check it out. Okay. I'm going to change our wonderful piano into some drums. Now, did you guys see what happened there? I had the audio track set up to record, and I had the audio instrument set up to record. What's cool about that? Well, I recorded the MIDI on this track. I recorded the audio on this track at the same time. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm going to mute this 70s kit, and I'm going to come down here and check out the audio. So you remember I was talking about that triangular shape, wide at the front, skinny at the back? Well, here's a snare, right? I'll let it ring out a little bit, okay? So I only want to work with this snare, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to trim the front of the region and the back of the region to this area that I selected in the sample editor. So I'm going to go to Functions, excuse me, Edit, and I'm going to say Selection to Sample Loop. Ooh, Sample Loop. Sorry, that's a new Logic 8 thing. I actually want my region to selection. So let's say Sample Loop to Selection. No. Where is it? Where's my region to selection? There it is. Boom. No. Ah! The wonders of Logic 8. Okay, so I guess in Logic 8, they have a separate sample loop section from the selection that you do. All right, I want that. Edit, selection to region. Boom. Thank God. Oh my God, it worked. I do know what I'm doing after a little bit of trial and error. So anyway, I can edit that out. So here's the deal. This is a region, right? What I'm seeing in the arrange window is a region. So if I reverse this bit right here, it's going to reverse this region. Okay, so I go to Functions and I say Reverse. Boom. It's saying, hey, you sure you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, sure. Now, here's the trick. My whole drum beat that I made, my wonderful drum beat. Oh no. I jacked it up. So here's what I can do. Selection to region. Okay. I'm going to turn this into its own audio file. So I'm going to go to Audio. Now we did this before in another lesson as well. Okay, so as you see when I drag this around, there's my reversed snare, right? So I don't want to line it up to the beginning of where it's playing the reverse, right? I want it to actually line up where the loudest part is. So I do that by taking the anchor point and I drag the anchor point over to the loudest part of the file. Now if I drag this around, see where that line, where that vertical line is the loudest part of that reverse snare. It'll make it easier for me to line up to the grid. So for instance, if I play this back, okay, so I got the audio instrument playing and then I'm accentuating it with a reverse snare. And the reverse snare, if I needed to move it to another location, I can just hold Option, drag it over. Pretty cool. So when I'm lining it up on the grid, I'm lining it up to the loudest part of this reversed file. And that's an example of how to use anchor points. That's the only good way to use anchor points. Anchor points are used for lining a region up onto a grid where you need to line it up to something besides the left-hand side of the region. All right, so there you go. So, just like I said, a lot of information in a very short period of time. Feel free to leave any comments, or if you need me to go over anything specifically, go ahead and send me a message. I'll be here for you. Take care. Ciao.